All right. We are back, episode 109. We've been cranking these things out. Y'all know who I am, King Arthur, Unify and Thrive. If you didn't know, yeah, you see me in the daytime a little bit, so this will be a little different episode. Frank, he's still out there taking care of mental health. Frank, get it together. Make sure you go check out his book, An Elusive Perspective. Right? If you go to his website, so go to his page, or go to his Instagram, TikTok, or even our Instagram and TikTok, you can find his book there. So Frank, come on back. Come join us next time. We miss you, man. And today we have Ms. Suzanna Martinez. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I was reading your bio, and I'm super interested to know what a PEO is.
Mm-hmm.
So I dove into your stuff, and I still haven't figured it out just yet. So hopefully we can figure that out. So like we ask all our other guests and how we get the show started, we want to ask you, what is your figuring shit out moment in life? So either something that had you moving different, or something that you said, I got it, and you just been moving a particular way.
My figuring shit out was when I decided to go off as an independent PEO broker. So I was a W-2 employee for PEO companies, publicly traded, small privately held companies. I'd been working there for 2 decades as an employee, as an executive, an account exec, and did very well. However, I wanted to become self-employed, and I finally just pulled the band-aid to become self-employed, and that's when I really had to figure shit out. Before, I had a big marketing team that used to support me and back me up. I had to figure out the marketing team, had to figure out the accounting. I realized I'm not good at it, and I don't want to even learn how to do the accounting. That's when I realized I need to outsource the accounting to the accounting experts. IT been just a whirlwind of figuring shit out, let me tell you.
Yes. So you were just fed up with the corporate world, and you said, I can do this myself. And do you recall one moment when you were just like, I washed my hands with you guys, and like you said, I'm going to bet on myself?
Yeah, I had wanted to do it for several years. I just didn't have quite the guts to do it. And because they pay you a really good, so it's like the golden handcuffs, they hold you tight there. They have good salaries, good benefits, good expense allowance. That's really hard to walk away from, to go to absolutely zero. And I was in a position where I was not happy where I currently was. And finally, I quit on the spot. I didn't even give him notice. I've never done that. I've always given a job notice, but I was just so upset. I'm like, I
Yeah.
quit.
So you guys are never going to see
I
me
was
again.
even shocked. I didn't even plan it, but it worked out for the best because I'd always wanted to do it and I just needed to be pushed into doing it. And that's finally what ended up happening.
They say they pay you enough just to forget your dreams, and you're just like, I won't forget it. Is this something like you had a passion for, or you just said, I can do it here, so why not try it out there as
I had worked with several PEO brokers myself and I saw how well they did. And I'm like, there's nothing that they don't have that I don't have. I could figure this shit out. Basically, what I told
well?
myself. They could do it, I could do it. And let me figure this out.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Just talk about what a PEO is first, because
All right.
it's like a PEO broker versus what a PEO company is. PEO stands for Professional Employer Organization Model. And essentially, what it does is it pulls several thousands of businesses together into a large group to get buying power on health insurance, workers' comp insurance. It also helps businesses outsource their HR department, compliance, and payroll. So it's really good for companies that are growing and scaling. They have employees in multiple states. It gives them that HR infrastructure, and it also helps them save on health insurance and workers' comp insurance while being able to offer Fortune 500 to their employees, Fortune 500 benefits. So it's like you're joining a large group of companies. And it's difficult for small employers to offer good benefits to their employees. So it allows them to offer good benefits to their employees by joining a large group. So basically, what a PEO broker is, it's like an insurance broker. We basically partner with the best PEO companies out there and find the best fit for our clients based upon what the needs are of our clients.
So you're basically helping the small and medium sized business better optimize their human resources department.
Yes, and employee benefits, compliance, HR, payroll, but typically most of the time, the main reason why companies talk to us is because they're looking at trying to save on their employee benefits, their group health insurance, the benefit package that they offer to their employees.
And so back in the day, some of the smaller stores or organizations, the corner stores or the bodegas or the boutiques, right, they really didn't have that type of help or that kind of infrastructure. They may have a few employees that they pay under the table or just pay improperly or don't have the options to provide those benefits to make that employee really happy and want to stay around and grow the business.
Yeah, it's a way to be able to attract and retain talent. Exactly.
Okay, so how do you go about finding those companies? Do they just come and seek you out?
A little bit of everything referrals, cold calling, emailing, LinkedIn, just getting the word out, doing podcasts like yours, just educating people out there what PEO stand for. Because some companies don't even know that a PEO exists. I think they said that we have out of all the businesses nationally, less than 20% of businesses are actually utilizing a PEO company. So we're really just trying to get the word out that a PEO does exist, this model really does exist, and that a broker like myself does exist.
Mhm.
Oftentimes I'll talk to companies and they're like, oh my gosh, I just went through this process. I talked to their HR department. I just went through this process myself and I had to do this whole spreadsheet, this whole analysis for my executive team. I really wish I knew your type of business existed. So it's really just trying to educate companies out there nationally that a PEO exists and that PEO brokers exist as well to be their advocate to help them select the right PEO company.
Sounds very useful because, like I said, there's a lot of small businesses, especially since the pandemic, right? There's always been small businesses, but since the pandemic, people have been getting more attention via social media, or whatever it may be, and they're growing faster for whatever reason it is. But then to sustain that growth, you got to hire, and then you want to keep retain your employees. So providing services like that you offer, I'm sure is necessary for small businesses to grow.
Absolutely. And during COVID, it really taught us that a lot of employees can work remotely. So we got a lot of companies now that are hiring employees. They're finding talent in whatever state they can find the talent. And anytime you expand employees in different states, there's going to be a lot of other rules, a lot of other state compliance, a lot of different regulations per state. So it's really important that you're partnering with somebody like a PEO company that really can help you stay up to date with whatever state you're moving into because you don't know what you don't know oftentimes.
Absolutely, that's one of my favorite sayings. You don't know what you don't know.
So
Um,
that's why we're figuring shit out. Exactly.
so, so you like I want to say headbutt or compete with companies like Gusto and ADP and stuff like that. Or no?
No, not necessarily. I broker out ADP. Gusto's a really good company as well. So if it's somebody that just wants payroll solution or certain solution, I can bring all of those type of companies to the table for them. I really help them evaluate multiple companies all at once. I do a spreadsheet
Mhm.
analysis, a Gusto, a Paychecks, an ADP, and some of the small little local players as well.
And then, but you also should bring in other vendors too. So if they need payroll or health insurance, you need
Yeah,
outside those companies.
absolutely. So if somebody just needs HR help, you know what? We're really good with payroll. We're all squared away there. I don't need any help, but we're expanding and I really need an HR consultant or we need to outsource our HR. We just need an outsourcing HR team, for a temporary period of time. Then
Mhm.
absolutely, I would bring in several different partners that I consult with that I can definitely bring into the table or if they say, hey, everything is good, we have a great company, great payroll, our HR team is robust, we're good there. We just really need help saving money on health insurance because our premiums are just going sky high and we don't know what to do. It's really difficult for small companies, especially if you're under 10 employees. It's very difficult for them to get competitive health insurance rates because every year the premiums are going up and so is the deductible. So everybody's frustrated. Employers are frustrated because the premiums are going up, and employees are frustrated because their benefits are getting less and less rich every year.
And is there like a threshold for a small business to service? Like amount of employees or about revenue or?
Usually I just do group insurance, and you typically we need two W-2 employees. And if you're under 10 employees, the best bet would be to have everybody do an individual questionnaire. And that's when we're able to really shop the marketplace, find some creative solutions out of the box thinking to come to the table if companies are willing to have their employees do the questionnaires.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, how do you go about educating the businesses on what they might need? Because they clearly, a lot of times, they're just starting out. They've just started making money, and it's not, oh, like now I have to do the other part of business. And so, outside of taxes, right? Outside of taxes. And so,
If you're under 50 employees, by law, you don't, it's not a mandatory requirement to offer health insurance.
okay.
But if it's an industry that you're really struggling to attract and retain talent, then it's something you really need to try to put into the budget. And we can talk about that. I work also a lot with nonprofits. Now, nonprofits don't pay high salaries, but they really want to offer, they're very generous with their benefits. Oftentimes, they're paying like 100% of the premiums for their employees because they really want that culture within their organization. So it's really difficult to try to put it into the budget. And there's some creative solutions outside of the box thinking that we can have conversations with them about. But if it's an industry that you're really struggling to try to find really good employees, offering benefits can really help you attract and retain people. In fact, I had an engineering company. They had very low participation and they were paying quite a bit on premiums. They just still were struggling to try to make it affordable, and they just didn't have a lot of people participating. So if you don't have very many employees participating, then your rates even go higher. And
Mhm.
we were able to get them to do individual questionnaires. We got them a creative solution out of the box. We saved him like $20,000. And this year we went through renewal with him, and he's now has, I think he has 19 employees actually participating in the plan. And he said, my company is now, the employees are staying. It's easy for me to attract somebody when I'm getting ready to put an offer on the table because of our benefits. They're sticking around, they're happy, they're productive employees. And he
Mhm.
says he really contributes that to the benefit offering that he's now able to offer.
Nice. So I heard you say earlier that is paraphrase. This is what I heard, right? Like it's not about the pay all the time for the employee, right? The pay, I'm sure, can go up or whatever, but if you have tuition reimbursement assistance or like a decent 401k, daycare assistance, or exercise, like stuff that you can just offer that I don't have to come out of my pocket to pay for, and it makes it just easier on my life as a whole. And yeah, I'll be a better employee for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just think of ourselves. Yeah, we would be a better employee. If somebody's going to leave you for dollar, $5, $100 more an hour, it's more than just the salary. Yes, people's pay is their salary is really important, but employees nowadays are looking at the whole package. You mentioned tuition reimbursement. You mentioned daycare reimbursement, 401k. There's so many creative ways, even if you're not able to offer the traditional health insurance offering, there's so many other additional ways and other additional benefits that you can put in place to be able to make your employer preferred employer to work for.
All right. I get that. I'm a contractor, right? And I work in IT, so I work remote. So benefits are major, and it's literally so work from home is a benefit to me, right? Because I've had jobs recently where I had to go to office a couple days a week, and the pay was just about the same, but it was more or less. I'd rather do this. I'd rather have these options over this option, right? And so that gives the employee a lot of power, and I guess like you said, the employer needs to have those bargaining chips, right, to retain good and attract the quality employees. Yeah.
Working from home, that's definitely a huge benefit for IT professionals. There's certain benefits that you can offer to W-2 employees versus contractors, the 1099 contractors, but there's still some things that you can put into place for some of your 1099 contractors that certainly worth having a conversation about.
Right. So let's talk about what every business needs to know as far as streamlining your HR and compliance? What are some things that a business needs to know and take care of, like when it's time for you?
Like we mentioned, you don't know what you don't know. There's certain laws that happen as your company grows. So once you get to the 5 employee mark, there's certain requirements that you must abide by as an employer. Once you hit the 15 mark and it's 20, 25 mark, and it just keeps going up. So as your company's growing, there's lots of things that you need to consider when it comes to compliance and HR. Once again, like I said, if you're hiring employees in any state, especially California, you really don't know what you don't know in those type of states. And you can get employers can get themselves in a lot of trouble and things when it comes to workers' compensation as well. Work safety, compliance, if you're this the type of industry like for construction, you really want to make sure you're doing things the right way so that way your premiums don't go up every year.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the premium to go up, but it's gonna go up. So, like I said, if you're growing and you got more employees or you get more benefits, let's talk about your business. Your business, PEO for the CEO.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that, and what's that about?
That's typically who we target. We're
Okay,
targeting the CEOs or the CFOs. Oftentimes, we'll target that's the main decision maker. Oftentimes, the CEOs are telling us, you know what, I don't typically handle the PEO company. I don't handle the decisions as far as the benefits and payroll decisions and things like that. So they'll typically push us off to somebody that might handle their HR. Maybe it's an office manager, maybe it's their wife or an assistant or something like that. And then we'll work with that person to gather all the documents. But I typically like the buy-in from the higher level, the CEO or the CFO, because it's more than just offering benefits. It's a full scale solution. So we really want buy-in from the CEOs from top of an organization all the way down. So
right.
everybody's going to touch it, the platform a little bit differently, whether that's the payroll system, it's the benefits. But every CEO is always concerned about the bottom line. They're always concerned about their employees and the whole life cycle of retaining their employees. And they should be.
Right.
So I thought it'd be a good name since that's who I'm targeting.
That is pretty
And
catchy.
it rhymes.
It does. Nice colors, nice theme there. PEO for the
Thank,
CEO. And
thank
so every business has to market their audience in a particular way. I'm sure CEOs are a different audience to market to than, let's say, me. I sell toys to marketing the kids, right? And I'm sure that buying decision is a little different. Can you spell on that a little bit?
Yeah, so oftentimes when we're talking to CFOs, their trigger points are going to be financial numbers, bottom line driven. And when we're talking to the people that are running HR within a company, they want to know how is this going to make my life easier? How is it going to make onboarding employees easier? How is it going to make not having to deal with the state unemployment or having to do workers' comp audit? How is it going to make my employees happy, the overall experience of employees? How is it going to help me discipline employees or do exit reviews or just interviews in general or performance reviews? Whereas if you're talking more to the CEO, that's more like how is this overall, how is this going to help my organization move forward and get me to the next level? And most of the time, they're trying to grow and scale their business, and that's what they're
Right.
focused on.
And are you like, where are you trying to meet them at? Are you like trying to meet them at like networking events or like at LinkedIn, or are you going outside and trying to capture a bunch of qualified leads?
Yeah, I have leads, I have lists. So I do a lot of networking, I do a lot of LinkedIn, but I typically have a database of companies that are already using a PEO company. If they haven't done due diligence in 3 years, 3 to 5 years, you really should be because the fees are going to just be creeping up on you. So I really try to target those companies to try to get them to go out and do due diligence. So they already understand what a PEO is. I don't have to educate them there. It's just a matter of trying to find them a better solution. Yeah.
So let's talk about your experience as a CEO, right? And utilizing this to make your business a little better.
When you talk about marketing, I'm always looking at different ways. It's always trying different things, thinking outside of the box. And this doesn't work, then let's try something different. And if that doesn't work, then let's try something different. Always like to consult with other business owners. What have they done? What's been beneficial for them? It's always good to hear other people's war stories as well and learn from them.
Yeah. Do you have a horror story? Do you have a company that you were working for and they just were open to it, or you were helping somebody and they just had a lot of pushback and wasn't receiving the information that you provided?
I don't quite understand your question. Do I have a horror story of trying to help somebody and they didn't quite take my help?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Oftentimes, I'm doing financial analysis where I'm saving companies hundred thousands of dollars a year. And
Yeah.
to me, that's a lot of money. But to some businesses, that's not that much money. And it's not worth them to make a move for that type of savings. To me, that's a couple people's salary, possibly. But it's all
So
relevant. It's not that much to them. It's really surprising how financials, it could be a lot of savings to me or to you, but to other businesses out there, it's really not that much because oftentimes they tell me I just have other priorities and this just isn't a priority. So really it's about timing and trying to just get them at the right time.
okay.
Yeah.
And are you doing this by yourself, or do you have a team that helps you?
I have independent contractors that help me. I have a lot of professionals that I outsource, a marketing team, an accounting team. That's what they do for a living.
Mhm.
The experts. They're
Okay.
the experts.
So you hire experts like a real CEO, right?
Yes, exactly. I hire the experts. I try to hire people that are smarter than me.
Let's see. I had another question which just escaped me. I'm on your website and I see you do a lot of YouTube videos. Yeah.
I'll put this on YouTube as well. So
Yeah.
can market it to my audience.
All right. So what is something that you are like trying to figure out now since you have your audience, you have your team, like as you're moving forward? What is something that you're trying to figure out now with PEO for the CEO?
What I'm trying to figure out now is a lot of SEO. A lot of my website's a lot newer than several other businesses. So it's a very competitive industry. Insurance is very competitive. Payroll is very competitive. So you have to have a lot of money to be able to compete with the big boys. So I have to be creative with my business to try to really market myself and my company.
Okay.
And really, how I market myself is you're buying me. I have over 2 decades experience in the industry. And if somebody's going to work with me, I'm going to really truly be their advocate. I work for the PEO company or the insurance company. I work for them and I'm going to be doing what is going to be in their best interest, not what's in the best interest of the PEO company or the insurance company. So if they want my help and my expertise, I'm here to serve. And if not, then I wish them all the best.
They'll be back.
They'll be back. Yeah.
You mentioned 2 decades of experience, right?
Over.
So, what's the difference between doing this for a company instead of now doing it for yourself?
Like I said, working for the company, you get a nice salary, W-2 income, you get expense allowance, you get benefits as a W-2 employee. However, a lot of the companies want their clients to fit in the box. And sometimes the client just doesn't fit in that box. And I got very frustrated because I'm talking to companies and I don't want to make a client fit a square peg in a square box. And so, as a broker, if it doesn't fit in the box here, let's find some other squares, rectangles, triangles for you to fit into. And
Right.
as a broker, that's what I can do for my clients. I can actually be independent consultant to really help find them the best solution. And I don't work for the company. I work for them. Whereas when I'm a W-2 employee and you're getting paid a nice salary, you work for that company.
Right. And so, are you preferring this entrepreneurship, this business owner, over being employee?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It's been Definitely difficult. Uphill battle every day, lots of different challenges, really different than being an employee. But yeah, every year it just gets better. And I love my clients, and they know how much I care about them and get referrals from them.
What about you said some challenges starting out? So what are some of the challenges that you faced when you first started? The
Well, getting
PEO, the
clients,
CEO. Yeah.
that's a challenge all the time. Getting new clients, retaining your clients, keeping your clients year over year. That's always a challenge, especially because I'm in startup mode. Some companies might feel like they've outgrown me and want to move on to big agency, a broker agency. And that's, that's their choice if they want to do that.
Do you have an issue with retention? Like you said, when they get bigger, I'm sure other people are going to be seeking them out to say, hey, we can provide more than what you're getting now.
No, actually, I have a lot of client retention, but still, sometimes you do. It does every year. You do lose clients, but compared to the industry, I have very high client retention.
How many clients do you support now? Can you say? Or
I in my book of business, I have, gosh, 50 clients that which are
okay.
companies, and they range from different sizes. So I have some
Okay.
companies that are 2 employees. I have some companies that are 20 plus employees. I have some companies that are over 100 employees. So they're all over the place as far as size of companies.
Okay. And how are you planning on? I guess you just said getting more clients and getting more customer businesses under your.
Yeah, marketing, hiring people, looking at acquiring other, always looking at having conversations of acquiring other books of business. Yeah,
Okay, that's different. How did that go?
it hasn't gone yet, but I'm always
Okay.
open
Okay.
to have conversations.
All right. How many businesses do you plan on covering? And then,
I'd like to scale my own business and keep doubling every year and have a support team to be able to support my clients.
all right. So there's a business out there who needs your help, right? They're not sure they need your help. What would you say to them? How would you get them to understand what the service you're providing is needed for them in particular?
It really just depends. But like I said, most of the conversations I'm having, companies are struggling trying to save money on health insurance. If
Mhm.
you're looking at saving anywhere between 15 to 35% on your premiums, you really should consider possibly looking at a PEO solution or even some of the other creative solutions that I can bring to the table as well. If you are high risk industry, you're a roofer, you're a contractor, you're solar panel, truck driver, in the oil and gas industry, if you're in the high risk type industry when it comes to workers comp, you should always be looking at trying to save money there because those are industries that get hit really hard on premiums for workers comp premiums. If you're struggling, you have a lot of turnover of your employees, you're hiring and firing, and it's just constantly that revolving door and you can't keep employees. This might be a solution for you to help you retain employees.
All right. I see one of our top questions. I don't think I asked this one. Are PEO brokers paid? Because I think you said they get services at no cost to them.
Correct. Our services are at no cost to the client. We get paid either through the PEO company or the insurance company. All I do is I ask my clients to just sign a letter of intent that they're going to use me exclusively because I do a lot of work on the back end doing a side by side analysis, full proposal analysis. And all that I ask is that they work with me exclusively. If they want to include anybody or exclude anybody in that process, for example, if they say, I want to work with ADP or Gusto, they need to let me know that, and I'd make sure I'd go to Gusto or ADP or whoever else they want me to include or exclude from the process.
All right. So if you're a small business and you're ready to buy some benefits to your employees, or you just need some help with HR or payroll, reach out to Miss Suzanne Martin. Let them know how they can find you in some of your socials or website.
Yeah, Suzanna Martinez at PEO for the CEO. And you can email me, go to my website, peofortheceo.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, peofortheceo.com there, and message me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
This was a very informative conversation because I don't have any employees yet, but I do participate in some of the business that we are doing, like the podcast. and the tech stuff that we're going to be needing HR and payroll and benefits and all that kind of good stuff that you offer soon. So glad to meet you.
Yeah,
Glad we were able
keep
to
me
share
in
this
mind.
message.
Absolutely. As you start to grow and as you start to have to bring people on W-2, you let me know.
Absolutely, we will. This is episode 108. We thank you, Ms. Martinez, for coming down to join us, and we'll keep in touch. We'll keep in touch for sure.